Welcome to the Shed and Shine podcast. I am Gino Wickman. This is where Rob Dubé and I help driven entrepreneurs shed their shit, free their true selves, unlock true entrepreneurial freedom, and shine. We truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with us, and we hope to make a huge impact on you. Hello and welcome back. I call this episode 4 Things to Make You Go, Huh? So this type of episode is becoming a bit of a staple. This is the 3rd time I've done this now, and to create a little context for someone that might be stumbling across this episode out of all the episodes for the first time. What this is these are topics that aren't lengthy enough, deep enough to be full episodes. And so I have lots of thoughts in between recordings. I make a list of those thoughts. Some are worthy of a 10 to 20 minute episode, and some, again, just aren't as long. And so I collect the ones that are a little shorter in nature and just compile those into a Things to Make You Go, Huh episode. And so here are 4 for you. Number 1 thing to make you go, huh, is I'm going to just start with a statement, okay? And so I heard this from someone, and it made me go, huh, and I just heard it recently. But the question was, what's pulling you toward it? What's pulling you toward it? Now, on this thing to make you go, huh, we could literally stop there, because I'm going to say a couple more things on this one, but that was like, wow. That was a wow moment. There's nothing else that needs to be said. I'm guessing you feel the same way, but let's just dig a little bit deeper into that, because I would ask you, what a powerful question. What is pulling you toward it? And what that means to me when I hear that, my mind immediately goes to and went to, the second I heard it, is calling and purpose. Those 2 words have a lot of energy around them for me. And so I believe that we all have a calling. There is something that our soul wants for us, our true self wants for us, our gut is telling us. And so that I call calling. And then the word purpose, same thing. I believe we all have a purpose. I believe we are all on this planet for a reason. And all of that is baked into that one simple sentence, what's pulling you toward it? And so there's a little bit of a deeper dive into it, but now a broader context. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for me and you to do a checkup on ourselves, to say, not only ask the question, what is pulling you toward it, but then to ask and confirm that the thing that we're doing right now is the thing that's pulling us toward it, because we might be off purpose. We might be off calling. And so it's just a great checkup from the neck up to see if we are truly listening to our souls, to our intuition, to our true selves. And then I look back on my life, and taking over the family business at 25 years old, I was called to do that. That was my purpose for that 8-year run. And then I think about selling that business and pursuing my next purpose, calling, passion, reason for being, and that's helping entrepreneurs, which led me to create EOS, and over a 5-year period in 500 sessions create what is now known as EOS, and just being an EOS implementer and helping companies. And then from there, I was called to build an organization of EOS implementers to help driven entrepreneurs. And then every book, I thought about every book. I've now written 8 books, and every one of those books was truly a calling. It's not like I sat there from a business standpoint and said, how can I write a book to make money? Some of the books make a lot of money. Some of the books make a little bit of money. It was all truly out of a passion, a purpose, a calling. My intuition and soul were screaming at me to write that book. And so again, just a checkup from the neck up for you. And I just urge you, this is a great opportunity to practice the discipline of being still. Spend time in contemplation, meditation, ponder, listen to your gut. What's pulling you toward it? Are you on the right path? On to number 2. This one I call nudging. And I was sharing something in our mastermind with our clients, and I was really surprised by the response it got, because what I shared with them is how, I spend my whole life nudging people. That's how I view myself as a leader in terms of where I am now in my life. And so if I go back to, my 20s and 30s when I was running, growing a business, mired in a lot of the details, there was less nudging going on, but it was certainly going on then. At this level, there's a tremendous amount of nudging that goes on. And so the way that I describe it is that I just simply kind of nudge people. So I'm providing coaching, navigation, direction, sometimes a kick in the ass, but mostly nudging. And so something I'd love for you to consider as a leader at the level you're at is to view it as nudging people. And so the crude analogy that comes to me, because I really, up until that mastermind, I don't know that I ever really shared that with anyone and how I view it. But the crude analogy and the way that I really say it to myself is I describe it as patting butts. Okay, so not physically, you'll get yourself in trouble. But what I think of is teaching both of my kids to ride their bikes. And so it takes me all the way back to that, where for those of you that have done it, it's a process and it takes time. And once they try it for the first time and they start to get pretty good at it, they're still wobbly, and every once in a while you just got to pat them on the butt and pat them in the right direction and move them to the right, move them to the left, stop them from falling. And so there's my crude analogy that I call patting butts in my head, i.e. nudging people. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, this is just a short and sweet thing that makes you go, huh? But the other thing I would suggest is what it also has taught me is patience. And so nudging people is a masterful way of leading and being patient, because not everyone is ready to hear the message at that time. People want to resist the message. And if you will be patient and observe, let them resist and just stay focused and aware. And when the opportunity presents itself, you just kind of nudge them in the right direction or pat them on the butt. So a couple examples. I think about my clients. In 25 years of being an EOS implementer and helping my clients, I will see something in a session room with my client where there's a real issue, but they're not ready to confront the issue. Or there's a person that needs to go and they're not ready to fire that person just yet. And so I will just kind of nudge when the opportunity presents itself. I know in the long run, the right answer is going to come to the surface and they're going to do the right thing and they're going to make the tough decision. They're going to make the tough call. They're going to do the tough thing. But what I do is just keep nudging them when they're ready in that right direction. I think about employees and I think about EOS implementers. As we built the team of implementers that we did, I would recall times where there's one in particular who's one of our best. And I'm not going to name any names to protect the innocent, but this person was a rock star. And I wanted this person to be with us for the long haul, and I knew they would be, but they resisted a lot of things. And so I was just very patient. And we have something we call EOS Pure, which is just the pure way to teach EOS and take a client through the process to get the best results. And this person would resist. And I would simply say, and they were open and honest about their resistance, and I'd say, go ahead and try it, and then come back and let me know how it goes. And again, that's me just being patient, knowing what they were going to come back and say, and just, again, nudging them in the right direction. So there are some examples. I urge you to try that on or consider looking at it that way. But the main point, I think, in all of this is it's all about patience, assuming you're in for the long haul. Now, that's me sharing how I nudge others. The other powerful thing that happens when you have this awareness is there are people that nudge me. And so it's fun to watch the leaders in my life, the people that are the examples, gently nudging me in the right direction. And so it goes both ways, is the point I'm making there. On to number 3. This one I call true freedom. And so this is one that just flashed into my mind 7 days ago, and it's just the coming together of a whole bunch of data points. And it was like the definition of true freedom. And so I have spent my life, decades, trying to be free. And that freedom was all about a time freedom and an economic freedom and a creative freedom. And those things are all very important. And as driven entrepreneurs, we're blessed to be able to do all of those things and create those types of freedoms. But the ultimate freedom in shedding and shining is these 3 things that came to me, because the ultimate freedom is true self freedom, is when your true self is free, is when your soul is fully free. And the definition of what that means flashed into my mind for what this is worth. So I never know how you're going to react. But as I say this, I realize that, man, I don't know that there's 1 in 100,000 people living this free, maybe 1 in 10,000. I don't know the number, but it's not a lot in my humble opinion. But what flashed in are these 3 things, the definition of true soul freedom. Number 1 is that you don't care what people think. Number 2, I'm going to come back and talk about each one of these quickly. Number 2 is that your true self is free / you let your freak flag fly. You are 100% you in every situation. And number 3 is you are unconditionally loved for who you are. So now let's quickly touch on each of the 3, because there it all is. There's the thing that might make you go, huh? Little deeper dive for a few seconds. Number 1, you don't care what people think. You know, that one could be dangerous and misunderstood or misinterpreted, because it doesn't mean you're ruthless, evil, arrogant, and you don't like people. Just the opposite. Hopefully you love people, care deeply about people, but you just don't care what they think of you. Imagine that freedom. And maybe this is all just me, and maybe this flashed into my mind for me, and it was just a lesson from me, my intuition screaming at me, because I have always cared about what people think about me. And every day as I keep shedding and growing, I just care a little bit less every day, and it feels so fucking good, excuse my French. Number 2 is that, again, you're just letting your freak flag fly. You are fully you in every situation, and you're not bumping against that thing that says, oh, if I do that, how are they going to react? So you're just totally free. And again, maybe it's a lesson for me, but I just see myself becoming freer and freer and freer in terms of just letting my freak flag fly. And then number 3, you are unconditionally loved for who you truly are. Someone said that to me about 3 years ago, and it was like, oh, how nice would that be? That, again, you don't care what people think. Your freak flag is flying, and everybody in your life loves that about you unconditionally. Imagine if they loved you unconditionally for who you truly are, and you love them unconditionally for who they truly are. And number 4, this one I call customer feedback. So I have always, for the last, when I say always, I'm going to do the math here, for the last 30 years, in any business, any product, any service, always been obsessive about getting customer feedback. But I have this really simple way of doing it, and it's a 1 to 10 rating. So just have everybody rate you on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. So the aha or the thing that might make you go, huh, is to boil down everything to just a 1 to 10 rating. But here's the real reason I'm bringing this up. And I'll give you a couple examples that will hopefully bring it to life for you and you'll consider it. But I have a favor to ask of you. We are almost 50 episodes into this Shed and Shine podcast, and I would love to get your feedback. As I said, I'm fanatical about getting feedback. I created EOS over a 5-year period, 500 sessions, constantly getting that feedback. A big part of it was that rating. And I believed if I wasn't getting higher than an 8.75 on average, the value just wasn't there. And I'm happy to say my rating has been a 9.2, 2,100 sessions running. So that's how I know I'm providing value for my clients. And I would urge you to do the same. Now, with that said, a podcast is very difficult to get feedback. There's no easy outlet for that. And here's the favor I'm asking. Would you please give us your feedback? I know this is going to take a few minutes of your time, but I would be so grateful. Rob would be so grateful. And so here's what I'm asking. If you are watching our podcast on YouTube, you can simply go and post in the comments on YouTube what I'm about to ask. If not, if you could just simply send us an email at info@the10disciplines.com and give us your feedback. And I would love it if you could give us some expanded feedback. Here would be my request. Worst case, give us a 1 to 10, 10 being the best. But I'd love to know who you are. In other words, what is your role? And so we believe most of our audience are driven entrepreneurs, but I know that there are other leaders listening to this and other people. So I'd love it if you share who you are, what your role is, and your age, if you don't mind sharing that. We'd love to get a sense of what age range is listening to the podcast. Number 2, I'd love to hear what you like and don't like about this podcast, and just be really brutally honest with us. In addition to that, what would you like to hear more of or less of? Like, what are the episodes that really stand out, that really energized you? You learned a lot, got a lot out of it, and which ones didn't you? So what would you like more of, less of? And then any additional advice for us. And all that said, at a minimum, if you could then also just give us a quality rating, 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how would you rate this podcast? We would be so very grateful. And I look forward to reading your feedback very soon. So there they are, the 4 things to make you go, huh? And on the subject of feedback, I'd love to know what you think of these. Because I have no idea what you think, but I do love these short and sweet little nuggets, certainly when I'm listening to a podcast. And so with that, I hope you found that incredibly valuable, and thank you for listening. Thank you for listening in today. We truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with us, and please tune in for the next episode. Until then, if you'd like to see where you are on your true self journey, go to shedandshinepodcast.com. to take the True Self Assessment and receive personalized guidance. If you're all ready to begin your inner world journey with Rob and myself, please join us for the next round of the 10 Disciplines Group Coaching Program. We wish you all the best in freeing your true self. Stay focused, and much love.